Have you ever laughed at someone and only later realized what you were missing? Some lessons come quietly, disguised as embarrassment or regret. It was a busy Monday morning at Hawthorne Industries, the gleaming skyscraper where ambition echoed off glass walls. The scent of freshly brewed coffee drifted through the lobby, mingling with the faint metallic aroma of the elevator doors. Before we continue, if you love stories that warm your heart and awaken emotions that help you to become a better person, be sure to subscribe to this channel and show your love by liking the video. Oh, and don't forget to comment below where you're watching us from. We love to know that. William Hawthorne, 65, billionaire and founder, strode through the lobby in a tailored suit, polished shoes clicking against marble. His life had been measured in contracts, profits, and boardroom victories. Every detail was accounted for, except humility. Near the elevators, an old janitor sat on a small stool, hunched over a tattered book. The man's hair was grey, his hands wrinkled and trembling slightly as he flipped pages, mumbling English words to himself. William stopped mid-step and laughed, quietly at first, then openly. "Reading English at your age?" he muttered under his breath, shaking his head. "Why bother?" The janitor looked up briefly, eyes tired but bright. He didn't respond. He just continued, carefully sounding out each word, correcting himself with a faint nod. William chuckled again, walking away. The sound of his laughter bounced off the lobby walls, unnoticed by everyone else but lingering in the air, like a stone thrown into a still pond. Yet something tugged at him, a faint whisper of recognition. He turned, almost imperceptibly, and saw the janitor's lips move with determination. The old man's commitment, the quiet dignity in his struggle, unsettled him more than he expected. William walked into the elevator, still smiling to himself, unaware that tomorrow the same book would appear on his daughter's desk at home. And that book, simple as it seemed, would carry a message he had never imagined, that wisdom and courage can exist in the most unexpected places, and that the heart of a lesson sometimes comes from those we least respect. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the Hawthorne estate, casting gold onto polished floors. Emily, William's 12-year-old daughter, sat at her desk, her school bag open beside her. She had a sparkle in her eyes that mirrored curiosity and mischief, the kind that belonged to children who notice the small details adults often overlook. On her desk lay a small package tied with a string. Inside was a worn, tattered book, the very same English textbook the janitor had been reading in the lobby yesterday. Emily's brow furrowed. "Where did this come from?" she whispered, running her fingers over the cover, feeling its rough texture and faded corners. She turned to her father, who was pacing nearby, reviewing spreadsheets. "Dad, look at this," she said, holding it up. "It's the book from the janitor." William froze, the papers in his hands trembling slightly. He remembered the man hunched over the pages, mumbling, correcting himself. The memory of his laughter yesterday echoed uncomfortably loud in his own mind. Emily looked up, her eyes wide and earnest. "I asked Mr. Thompson, that's the janitor, to let me borrow it," she said softly. "He said it's the best book to learn English, and he wanted me to have it. He said, even a small effort every day makes you stronger." William swallowed. His throat felt dry. The irony wasn't lost on him. He had laughed at the janitor's dedication, yet here was his own daughter, taking that lesson to heart without knowing the embarrassment behind it. Emily opened the book, tracing letters with her small fingers, her lips moving silently as she sounded out words. The rhythm was slow, careful, yet confident. William watched her, the weight of his own laughter pressing against his chest. He felt something stir, an unfamiliar warmth, like the first sunlight after a long winter. For the first time in years, he noticed what mattered. Not profits, not power, but persistence, patience, and the quiet dignity of learning. The very things he had mocked just yesterday. He took a deep breath, resolved to change the story of his laughter. Tomorrow, he thought, he would visit the lobby. Tomorrow he would truly see the man behind the book, and perhaps he would learn the lesson himself. The next day, William arrived at the office earlier than usual. The lobby smelled faintly of polished wood and lemon cleaner. Morning sunlight filtered through the glass doors, casting long shadows across the marble floor. He spotted the janitor immediately, broom in hand, pausing mid-sweep to glance at the corner of the lobby where he had left his book. The man looked older than yesterday, lines deeper, movements slower, yet his eyes still held that quiet determination. William approached cautiously. "Mr. Thompson," he called softly. The janitor looked up, a little startled, then nodded. "Yes, sir." William hesitated. For the first time, he wasn't thinking about board meetings, contracts, or profits. He was thinking about persistence, courage, and the dignity of a life quietly lived. I wanted to apologize," he said. "Yesterday I laughed. At you. At your book. That was wrong." Mr. Thompson's expression didn't change immediately. Years of routine and caution seemed etched into his face. Then a faint smile appeared, small but genuine. "Sir," he said slowly, "it takes courage to admit mistakes. It also takes courage to learn every day, no matter your age. I've spent 50 years sweeping floors, yes, but also learning little by little." William nodded, feeling the truth settle like sunlight in a cold room. "You've inspired me," he admitted quietly. "I laughed yesterday, but now I see something I've missed my entire life. Learning isn't about age, status, or wealth. It's about persistence." Mr. Thompson placed a hand on the book beside him. "And sometimes," he said, "it's about sharing it. That's why I let your daughter borrow it. She wanted to learn, and I wanted to give her a chance. That's all." William felt a lump in his throat. He had been wealthy all his life, yet here was a man teaching him a lesson richer than any paycheck. "Thank you," William said, his voice catching, "for the book and for the lesson." The janitor smiled, returning to his sweeping, but William didn't leave immediately. He watched quietly, realizing that the true value of life was not measured in success or luxury, but in small acts of dedication, patience, and humility. And in that quiet lobby, filled with the soft hum of early morning, he understood for the first time that learning was a gift, and respect was its companion. Days passed like quiet waves, each one bringing new lessons. Emily sat at her desk every afternoon, English book open, pencil in hand. Her small fingers traced letters carefully, murmuring words aloud, correcting herself with patient determination. William often paused at the doorway watching her. The hum of the city outside, the clink of teacups, the faint scent of rain lingering on the windowsill, all of it became a backdrop for a lesson he hadn't expected to learn. Patience and persistence are beautiful when witnessed in innocence. "Dad," Emily said one evening, eyes bright, "I can read this whole page now. Listen." She read clearly, pronouncing every word with care. William nodded, a warmth rising in his chest that no wealth had ever given him. "That's wonderful, Emily," he said softly. "I'm proud of you." She paused, looking up at him. "It's because Mr. Thompson believed in me. He said learning isn't about age or where you come from. It's about trying every day." William swallowed. He remembered the janitor's hands, the quiet dedication, the same words he had heard just a few days ago in the lobby. "Yes," he said, "and it seems you've learned it well." Emily smiled, the kind of smile that carries hope, pride, and the thrill of discovery all at once. "I want to learn more every day," she said. "I want to get better, not for anyone else, but for me." William realized in that moment that his daughter had become a bridge between the wealth he had and the humanity he had almost forgotten. She had taken a small gift, a tattered book, and transformed it into curiosity, courage, and connection. He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "I think Mr. Thompson would be proud, and so am I." For the first time in years, William understood that teaching, learning, and growing together, father and daughter, rich or poor, young or old, was more valuable than any fortune he could ever earn. Outside, the city lights glimmered as dusk fell, but inside their home, a different kind of light glowed, steady, warm, and alive. And in that light, a lesson long overlooked began to take root. True wealth is shared knowledge, patience, and love. The next morning, William stood by the elevator, his reflection stretching across the polished metal. He had made a decision, one that didn't involve contracts, profits, or prestige. Today, he would step beyond the role of billionaire and simply be a man willing to learn. Emily walked beside him, clutching the worn English book. Her small hands trembled slightly, excitement and nerves mingling. "Dad, are you sure?" she asked, glancing up at him. "I am," William said. His voice was steady, but his heart raced. "It's time to thank Mr. Thompson properly, and to show him how much you've learned." The lobby smelled of lemon polish and faint coffee, the morning sun streaming through glass doors. Mr. Thompson was there, broom in hand, as always, the book resting nearby. William approached, keeping his eyes on the janitor. "Mr. Thompson," he began, voice soft but deliberate, "I'd like to invite you to our office today, to meet someone very special." The janitor raised an eyebrow, wary yet curious. "Office?" he asked. "Yes," William replied. "My daughter Emily has been reading your book. She wanted to share her progress, and I wanted to properly thank you." A faint smile appeared on Mr. Thompson's face, his eyes glimmering. "You're serious?" William nodded. "Completely. You taught her more than English. You taught patience, courage, and the value of small, steady steps. That deserves recognition." Emily stepped forward, holding the book open. "I read a whole chapter yesterday," she said proudly. Mr. Thompson's hands trembled slightly as he reached for the book. This is amazing," he said. His voice caught, soft with emotion. "You did it, Emily. And you," he looked at William, "finally saw what matters." William nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest, unlike any bonus or achievement. For the first time, he truly understood that wealth is meaningless without respect, gratitude, and the courage to learn from anyone, no matter their place in life. They stood there for a moment. Billionaire, janitor, and a child whose curiosity had bridged the gap between two very different worlds. And in that quiet morning lobby, something shifted. A connection was forged, not by money but by humility, effort, and shared growth. Days passed, each one filled with small victories. Emily arrived at school carrying the tattered English book, her steps light and purposeful. She opened it in class, eager to share what she had learned, and began reading aloud. Her classmates paused, listening. Words stumbled, but her confidence grew with every sentence. A shy smile spread across her face when her teacher nodded in approval. "Emily, that's excellent," the teacher said. "You've improved so much." Emily's eyes sparkled. "I had a teacher," she whispered to a friend, "who believed even when it was hard, and he said, if you try every day, you get stronger." Back at Hawthorne Industries, William noticed a subtle change in himself. Meetings that once filled him with impatience now felt different. He paused longer to listen, asked questions he had never asked before, and smiled at employees he might have overlooked in the past. He realized the janitor's lesson, patience, persistence, humility, was spreading quietly through his life. Not like a loud announcement, but like sunlight filtering through a window, subtle, warm, transformative. One afternoon he returned to the lobby. Mr. Thompson was sweeping near the elevators, book in hand. William approached and handed him a small envelope. "For you," he said softly. The janitor opened it carefully. Inside was a gift card, not extravagant, just enough to buy something he might enjoy, but more importantly, a note. "Thank you for teaching me a lesson that no wealth could buy. You showed my daughter and me the true meaning of effort, patience, and courage." Mr. Thompson's eyes glistened. "You really saw it," he said quietly. "Not the job, not the building, but the person. That means more than you'll ever know." William nodded, feeling the weight of his own growth. He had started the week laughing at someone's effort. Now he was learning from it every day. Emily continued to practice, her confidence blossoming, while William's respect for small, quiet acts of courage deepened. And in that rhythm of life, of teaching, learning, and noticing, they discovered a truth often overlooked. The greatest lessons are shared, not earned through power, but through patience, humility, and heart. The city outside moved on, bustling and bright, but inside the Hawthorne home and lobby a quieter, stronger force grew. Understanding, connection, and hope. It was late afternoon when William returned to the lobby. The sunlight slanted through the glass, painting golden rectangles across the marble floor. Dust motes floated lazily in the beams, sparkling like tiny stars. He noticed a small crowd gathered near the entrance, employees chatting quietly, smiles on their faces. And there, at the center, stood Mr. Thompson, the janitor. He had just finished helping a young intern pick up a stack of fallen papers. The intern looked up, embarrassed. "Thank you," the intern said, smiling. "I didn't expect anyone to care." Mr. Thompson nodded, gently brushing the papers flat. "It's always worth helping," he said softly. William watched silently, struck by the scene. The man he had laughed at, the man whose dedication had been so quietly steadfast, was being recognized, not for wealth or position, but for simple humanity. One of the senior managers approached William, lowering his voice. "He's amazing, sir. Always goes the extra mile, even in ways no one notices. The interns learn so much from him. He's invaluable." William felt a lump rise in his throat. His laughter from days ago echoed uncomfortably in his mind. He had been blind to the depth of quiet courage. Now he saw it, the dignity and dedication, the richness of unnoticed effort, the lessons hidden in everyday acts. Emily, standing beside him, whispered, "I told you, Dad, he's special." William nodded, smiling faintly, eyes glistening. "I see that now, more than I ever realized." The janitor caught his eye and gave a small nod. Acknowledgement without pride, humility without pretense. For William, the moment was transformative. The lesson was clear. True respect and recognition are not earned through status, but through sincerity, patience, and unwavering effort. As he watched Mr. Thompson help another employee, guiding gently, William felt a quiet shift inside himself. The world of boardrooms, profits, and power seemed suddenly smaller, and the universe of human kindness infinitely larger. Emily squeezed his hand. "Can we come back tomorrow?" she asked. William smiled, his heart full. "Yes, we'll come back. Every day, if we can." And in the golden light of the lobby, with the city humming softly outside, William understood something he had never known before. Wealth could buy many things, but it could never replace the lessons taught by humble hearts and steady hands. The following week, William called Emily into his office. Sunlight spilled across the polished mahogany desk, illuminating the stacks of papers he normally buried himself in. Today those papers felt insignificant, mere distractions from what truly mattered. "Emily," he said softly, I want to do something for Mr. Thompson. Something to show him how much his guidance means. Not just for you, but for me as well." Emily's eyes widened. "Like what?" William paused, thinking. The answer had been in front of him all along. "We'll set up a small scholarship for lifelong learners," he said finally. "Adults like Mr. Thompson who keep learning, despite age or circumstances. People who show courage and dedication every day." Emily's face lit up. "He'll love that." Later that afternoon, William walked to the lobby, Emily by his side. Mr. Thompson was quietly sweeping near the elevators, the familiar rhythm of his work comforting and steady. "Mr. Thompson," William said, his voice calm but deliberate, "I want to thank you properly. Not just with words, but with something that lasts, a scholarship in your name, for anyone who wants to learn, no matter their age or station." The janitor's hands froze on the broom. He blinked several times, as if trying to process the unexpected gesture. "You did this?" he asked quietly, voice trembling. William nodded. "You taught my daughter patience, courage, and the power of persistence. You reminded me of something I'd forgotten, that learning, humility, and respect are the truest measures of a life well lived." Mr. Thompson's eyes glistened. I don't know what to say," he whispered. "You don't have to say anything," Emily added, holding his hand. "You already taught us everything we needed to know." For a long moment the lobby was quiet, except for the soft hum of the city outside. Then Mr. Thompson smiled, not proud, not boastful, but deeply, quietly grateful. William realized that in honoring him, he had honored something even greater, the value of patience, the beauty of steady effort, and the lessons that come from noticing the world around us. And as he walked away, he felt a lightness he hadn't known in decades, the calm certainty that true wealth comes not from money, but from recognition, respect, and the courage to grow alongside others. Weeks passed, but the ripple of Mr. Thompson's quiet lessons grew stronger. Emily arrived at school, book in hand, her confidence blossoming like the spring flowers outside. She shared words, corrected classmates gently, and encouraged others to try, no matter their mistakes. At home, William noticed the change in her. Patience, curiosity, and resilience now guided her small decisions. "She reminds me every day," he said softly to himself, "that the simplest lessons are often the most powerful." At the office, William's colleagues noticed something too. He paused longer in conversations, listened more attentively, and recognized employees who quietly excelled, those who had once gone unnoticed. Even the interns, inspired by Emily's stories, began seeking Mr. Thompson for guidance. The old janitor, humble and steady, smiled quietly as he answered questions, never flaunting his knowledge, but sharing it generously. One afternoon, William found himself standing in the lobby again, watching the scene. A young intern fumbled with a stack of papers. Mr. Thompson knelt beside him, showing patience, correcting gently. Emily, standing nearby, repeated a word softly to another student, teaching as she had been taught. William's chest swelled. He realized the lesson had traveled farther than he imagined. It was no longer just his daughter's growth or his own awakening. It was a living cycle of kindness, patience, and humility, reaching beyond their family and office, touching lives quietly but profoundly. He turned to Emily. "Do you see it?" he asked. Emily nodded. "The lesson, it's everywhere, Dad. We just have to notice it." "Yes," William whispered, eyes glistening, "and remember it every day." The afternoon light bathed the lobby in gold, reflecting off marble floors and glass doors. The city outside moved with its usual rush, but inside, a quiet truth remained. Greatness isn't in laughter, status, or power. It's in the patient, unassuming acts that shape hearts and minds. And in that gentle rhythm of learning, helping, and noticing, William understood that true legacy was not wealth, but the echoes of small acts that inspire courage and kindness long after they are done. The morning sun poured through the hawthorn estate, warming the polished floors and softening the edges of the world. William stood by the window, Emily beside him, holding the worn English book. Outside, the city bustled as always, but inside, a calm sense of fulfillment filled the room. "Dad," Emily said softly, "I read another chapter today, and I helped 2 classmates with their English. They didn't get it at first, but now they do." William smiled, his eyes glistening. "I'm proud of you, Emily. You've learned more than words. Patience, courage, and the power of kindness." Emily hugged him tightly. "And it's all thanks to Mr. Thompson." Later that day, they returned to the lobby. Mr. Thompson stood near the elevators, book in hand, eyes bright with quiet satisfaction. William handed him a small notebook, a gift, not of money, but of respect and gratitude. "For you," William said gently, "to write your thoughts, your lessons, anything you wish. You've taught us more than you know." Mr. Thompson's hands shook as he accepted it. "Thank you, sir," he whispered. "It's never too late to learn and to be remembered." Emily smiled. "We'll remember, always." William realized something profound. His fortune, his office, his accolades, they had value, yes, but nothing compared to the lessons carried in hearts, passed quietly from one life to another. He knelt beside Emily. "True wealth, my dear, isn't what you hold in your hands. It's what you carry in your heart, respect, patience, and the courage to honor others." The janitor smiled, Emily beamed, and William felt a peace he hadn't known in decades. The echoes of laughter, the lessons of persistence, and the quiet dignity of a humble life had transformed them all. And as they left the lobby together, William understood that the richest treasures are not counted in dollars, but in the kindness we share and the lessons we live by. Life's most meaningful lessons often come from unexpected places. Humility, patience, and courage are richer than wealth, and true legacy lies in the hearts we touch, the lessons we teach, and the kindness we carry forward.